Welcome to the ultimate guide to upgrading your budget mechanical keyboard. If you want to check out any of the stuff that I talk about in this video, there'll be Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links, but let's go over the first important thing. And the first thing is there are 3 different types of hot swap ability. And hot swap ability is being able to swap in different switches. So here are 3 different keyboards. Now the first type is this type. This is probably the least common. Take your keycap off and we try to yank this out. Well, it's just not gonna come because this is soldered on to your PCB. So to get new switches in this board, you have to desolder it and then resolder your switches into this board. So this is the first way. This is pretty uncommon at this point. Now the second way is like this Red Dragon keyboard. As you can see, this one's pretty tough to get it out. But once we do have it out, that is what the socket looks like. And that is because this is an Temu switch hot swap socket only. Hot swap socket. Did I say all that correctly? So that's what it looks like. It has these 2 little circles where those pins go in, and it's only a 3-pin connector, and you can put them in. It is a little bit harder to put these in than normal hot swap sockets. So that is the second way. And then the third way is like this board right here. Take the keycap off, pull the switch out pretty easily. And then this way is full hot swap ability. You can see it's full 5-pin because it has the 2 and then those 2 other pins and then the middle pin, so 5-pin. So that is what full hot swap ability looks like. Now a lot of boards are getting this, which is the best. However, still most budget boards are gonna have what this has, which is Temu hot swap only. Keyboards like the TechWare Phantom, basically every Red Dragon keyboard until very recently will have only hot swap sockets without Temus. However, basically all Royal Clutch keyboards have full hot swap ability like this board here. But now we move on to switches and how to upgrade your keyboards with switches. Well, if you do have an Temu only hot swap board, obviously if you have one of these, go for it. Any switch you want, put it in there. If you have one that's soldered, I would just recommend getting another keyboard, especially if you're a beginner. But if you have an Temu one, this is not a waste of money at all because there are switches that will fit in Temu sockets, most notably the Akko ones. These are really the only ones I recommend if you have an Temu board. There's a whole family of tactile and linear switches, and they're really quite good. It can really bring a keyboard like this to a custom level. So you can see these switches are 3-pin switches. They are very pretty and they're quite nice. These, as you can see, go right in there and they work very easily, very nicely. So any keyboard with these kind of hot swap sockets, if you see it and it says that it has Temu switches and it's hot swappable, it's gonna have these hot swap sockets with those little circles. If it has those, it will fit all of the Akko switches, all the jelly ones, all the normal CS ones, all of them, it will fit it. So that's the way that you upgrade your switches on an Temu hot swap socket keyboard. That is like the biggest thing. The other thing is most of the Akko switches are like 10 to 15 bucks. So they're very budget friendly. So to get a full pack, you're looking at well under 30 bucks to get really quite good switches for the price. All right, now the stabilizers. Now most keyboards, even a more expensive one like this, that one has a tick. They just don't sound the best. These are actually 3 of the nicer stabilizers, but most of them are pretty rattly and they just don't sound good. None of these sound especially nice, although this one is much better than your average budget keyboard. But there's a few things that you can do with your stabilizers. Number 1, you can mod them, and this is the easiest and cheapest way to do it. The first thing I recommend is doing a Band-Aid mod if your stabilizers are loose in your plate. So the first thing to understand about stabilizers is there are 2 main types of stabilizers. Number 1 is plate-mounted stabilizers. Number 2 is screw-in stabilizers. Now, plate-mounted stabilizers are gonna look like this. Basically, every single budget board is gonna come with plate-mounted stabilizers. These are stabilizers where once the switch is out, you press these little pins at the top or the bottom, press those in, and then you can just take your stabilizers right out. And you can see those come out just super easily like that. And then to put them back in, you literally just push them into your plate and then snap them back in that easily. So we've got that out of the way. You're not gonna have screw-in stabilizers on a budget board unless it's a very, very new budget board. But sometimes these will be actually wiggly in the plate, like the actual whole entire stabilizer will wiggle. And the way to fix that is you get some Band-Aids or some medical tape and you tape that place where these stabilizers sit in the plate to tighten them up in the board. And then beyond that, you can lube them, and holy modding is probably the best way to make kind of cheap stabilizers sound a lot better. But then the other way that you can do it, which is the way that I recommend if you have the money, you can get entirely new stabilizers. Durock makes some nice plate-mounted stabilizers. Not quite my favorite, however, my favorites are these Asceny plate-mounted stabilizers. They are definitely the most expensive, maybe not the most expensive, but they're definitely up there. However, when they are lubed and holy modded, these are actually made to be holy modded, and you put these in the board, they sound so freaking good. Take a listen to some of the stabilizer sound sets that I've modded with these stabilizers. And that is how they sound. You can see they sound really, really good. So these are probably the best plate mounted stabilizers. They sit really tight in the board, so they kind of act more like screw-in stabilizers because they're so freaking tight. Now, yes, they are a little bit pricey, but they're so worth it if you have some nice switches and some nice keycaps. All right, but let's move on to case dampening. Basically, 90% of all of your budget boards will not come with any case dampening. And the way you can check for that is literally what I just did. Tap on the back. And if it sounds hollow, probably there's no dampening inside. Now this specific board, it's actually 90 bucks. I don't even know why I have it on the table. That doesn't sound very hollow, and that's because there is case dampening inside of this one. But as you can hear with this one, definitely no dampening inside of this. Now what dampening does is overall just take out those vibrations and the tinny sound and feeling of most budget keyboards. Because when you feel this, you can hear that there's nothing behind the board. Now there's nothing behind the plate. So actually putting case dampening in it is huge. Now here, there are basically endless options. Whatever you can really put inside the case, you can do. If you have a really light board, some people even tape pennies to the bottom to kind of make it heavier. And then beyond that, for dampening, anything that's gonna dampen sound or vibrations is good to put inside of this as long as it doesn't catch on fire. So a couple of things that you can use is polyfill, which is what some people use. EVA foam is really easy to work with. Rug gripper. I use some of the more expensive stuff like Butyl Rubber, which is fantastic. I actually just modded a TM680 with Butyl Rubber. It sounded so nice. It also adds quite a bit of weight because it is so dense. And then you can even do a silicone mold, which is very, very easy because you don't have to cut out any holes for standoffs or anything. But basically, get creative here. You can use anything you really want inside of your case, again, as long as it does not catch on fire. So go crazy and have fun, but my #1 recommendation would be Butyl Rubber, and then a silicone mold obviously is gonna be fantastic. All right, but now let's move up from the board and talk about more dampening with the plate and the PCB. Now, one of the things with the PCB, and this isn't between them, but is on the other side, is you can do a tape mod, which essentially is gonna make your board sound more poppy. So all you do is you take some painter's tape and you just tape off the back. You can do it with as many levels as you want, but again, this just changes the acoustics. It's not really a feeling mod, it's just an acoustic mod. So you tape the back of your PCB and it'll make it sound more poppy. I personally like doing this on more thocky boards because it just like creates this very cool like deep pop. I like it. All right, but the second thing is plate and PCB dampening. Between that plate and the PCB, if you want a really solid, like not a louder board, but you want a quieter board, some people are really into that. I personally have done a lot of builds where it's really, really cool. If you want a ton of dampening, then put a piece of felt or something or cut up foam between the plate and the PCB. It will take you forever to do that, and it'll probably have you gouging your eyeballs out by the end of it. I usually get these pieces of felt on Amazon. They're pretty inexpensive for the amount of time that you save, and they fit most boards without you needing to modify them at all. I use these a lot in my modded builds. So again, check them out below. So that's what I use if I want to do a lot of dampening. However, if you don't want to do a lot of dampening, I use PE foam. And basically PE foam is a packing foam. As you can see right here, I'm putting it in the plate and the PCB. Now what you do here is you take off your plate and PCB, detach them from each other with no switches on there, place it down after you've cut out the stabilizers, and then you actually push the switches through the PE foam and it kind of pokes out the holes. And this doesn't necessarily do dampening. It'll probably do a little bit of dampening, but this actually makes your board sound creamy. So this is when you start tuning it, when you start getting into it a little bit more, makes it sound creamy. I would definitely recommend you guys do this. If you're gonna do some heavier case dampening and then do this, it would make it sound really good, just like I do my TM680 in the last video. All right, now keycaps. This is ultimately one of the most important choices of any of your budget keyboards because #1, most budget keyboards look like this. They don't look very good at all. They're just blank. So keycaps not only shape the way that your keyboard looks, but it's gonna shape the way it ultimately sounds as well as your feelings. So keycaps have one of the most important jobs of all. It's what you are going to touch every day. It's what you're going to look at every day, and it's also going to shape your sound. If you have a nice sounding board and you put crappy keycaps on there, it's not going to sound good. All right, so as far as material, there are two main different types of material. There is ABS and PBT. Now, ABS typically comes like all of these are ABS. This is all ABS. This one is PBT, and this is a more expensive board. So you might think, and a lot of people will think, okay, PBT is just better. As you can see here, this is ABS, this is PBT. This one is a ton thicker, all across the board. It's just so much thicker, so much nicer. So many people may think, okay, ABS is not as nice as PBT. And in a lot of ways, it's not, especially because the biggest one is it gets shiny over time. So ABS will become shiny, PBT will not become shiny. That being said, a lot of the most high-end keycaps out there are made of ABS, and this is mainly due to printing. Printing on ABS is way more consistent than on PBT, but I do recommend PBT for most people, especially for budget boards. But when picking keycaps, thickness is incredibly important when picking a budget board. Having a thicker keycap is going to make a deeper sound and get rid of this tinny sound. Such a tinny, awful sound. You want to get rid of that. If you just swapped over a thicker keycap, this would automatically change the sound completely. As well, there are different profiles like OEM, Cherry, SA. There are a ton of different profiles, so that's all personal preference. The color, the profile, all that stuff is all personal preference. However, it can be hard to find keycaps that are in stock that are actually good, and it's hard to determine quality when you're just looking online. So I actually made a top 5 list. You can check out right here all of the top 5 best budget keycaps out there. They're all PBT. But again, if you want to check out any of the stuff that I talked in here, the stabilizers, any of the foam that I talked about, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But these are my top 5 keycaps that I've used on my builds. I really enjoy using them, and they are all at a really good price. But this is Consumer Tech Review, and I'll see you guys in the next video.